Okay, we're on to the blue cards. So most of these are Whitebeard Pirate type cards. So first off we have Atmos. For course vanilla now he has an effect, but his effect is pretty interesting because we don't have a card that reviews your own hand cards. Like I guess until now. So this character is on play, reveal two of your Whitebeard Pirates type cards from your hand, and then if your leader has the Whitebeard Pirates type, return up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters to their hand. So for 4 cost, it's really good. It returns anything on curve. So you can return 4 cost on curve, you can return 4 cost on your 5 don curve, you can return a 3 cost on your 4 don curve. So it's very, very good tempo. I expect you to be using this on your 6 don curve in combination with the 5 cost ace as well as your leader effect to put it on the top of your deck. If your opponent is playing like 4 cost characters instead of like 5 cost or more on curve, right? But if not, playing this on 4 just to bounce a 3 is pretty good too. I think it's a strong card in general. And yes, you give your opponent information of your hand, but because Marco can cycle these cards, you don't even know if those cards are staying in the hand. So that's pretty good as well. And you can always show just like, oh, 9 cost Whitebeard, you know, I'm gonna play this next turn, haha, what are you gonna do about it? Or you can show, oh, I have 2k counter, yeah, what are you gonna do about it, right? So interesting card effect, I think pretty cool. Excited to see this card get played. I think it's a very fair trade-off for like card strength. Like information as a trade-off is pretty good, because in this game knowledge is really power. Okay, next we have some Amazon Lily support, Aphelandra. She's the really big one, I think. Activate main. Return this character to his owner's hand. If your leader has the Cruiser Pirates type, then place one of your opponent's characters with a cost 1 or lower at the bottom of your deck. Pretty bad. It's 2k counter, so that's good, but the effect is pretty mid. Bottom decks are 1 cost, and 1 cost like is a really like rare stat line now as well for like blockers too. Like there's no real like 1 cost blockers being printed anymore. Like the most notable one that comes to mind is the blue 1 cost law, but other than that, like you don't really see that kind of blocker or like any really valuable 1 cost characters. So I don't see this as being that good. Of course, the one thing is that this does trigger like Hancock leader effect, so that's the like the one like good aspect of it. But yeah, that's about it. Okay, next is Edward Beevil, 4 cost 5k power, Crying Man. Dawn as well when attacking. Return one of your opponent's return a cost 3 or lower character to its owner's hand. So pretty good. You can't use it on curve, because it's a when attacking effect, but bounce 3 is pretty decent. I think this is pretty good like in a hypothetical blue black deck as well. The new Sakazuki. But yeah, bounce to hand is not the best. Generally you would prefer to like just destroy your bottom deck or KO. But yeah, we'll take another Weevil card just to I guess synergize with Buckin too. But yeah, that's it for now. Funnily, it also synergizes with Buckin because you can like Buckin and cheat this out, and then after that you can bounce the Buckin and then play the Buckin again to cheat out another Weevil. I guess that's the that's one combo you can do, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, now we have the badass Edward Newgate. This is by Hayaken. Hayaken is the guy that does the art for I think the old 10 cost mom, also the Mihawk promo and everything. I quite like his art style in general. It's very like gritty. So on play, if your leader has Whitebeard Pirate in its type and you have 2 or less life, then all of your opponent's characters, if they were to attack during your opponent's turn, your opponent has to discard 2 cards from hand per attack. So 2 cards from hand is very expensive, as a way to kind of force your opponent to not be able to end the game against you. This is an interesting like floodgate kind of card that we don't really have up till now, and this also means that like you get to put a 10 costs on board and you don't get punished very heavily for it, because generally your opponent will only be willing to attack with their leader that turn. So that's really good. And if your opponent has like a lot of like big characters, like 10 cost characters and stuff, but they don't have a lot of hand, they also will struggle with ending the game with that. Like it reduces the amount of attacks that your opponent has as well. So this is one way to like kind of, I guess, help you calculate lethal as well, because there's not a lot of cards that are 2 for 1 in this game. Like the only exceptions I can think of off the bat are like Samurai and Pilaf. So unless your opponent is playing those cards, like you can very easily calculate how many attacks you have to counter out of, and that makes things pretty easy as well. So I think this card is pretty decent. It will see play in probably the Mako. It might see play in like blue yellow ace. Because I mean it's the only two leaders that can play this card at the moment. But yeah, I think it's a decent card. Excited to see this being played. I think it's pretty cool. And just look at him, he's so menacing. Okay, next we have King Dew. 4 cost 4k 2k counter. So just being a 2k counter, searchable, pretty good already. And this guy's effect is, again, you can reveal 2 cards from your hand with Whitebeard Pirates in its type, and then this character gains plus 2k for the turn. So it's activate main, which is pretty good. So you can do it on the turn he's played as well to make it 4-6, so it's harder to KO on the crackback. Like for example in the mirror, just leader effect plus 5 cost Mako will clear this if you don't use the leader effect. But if not, it's a 4-6 for 2k counter, which is really good. You have to keep showing 2 cards from hand every turn to maintain that 6k power, but I think that's not too bad. Because you can also activate it like before you play cards that turn. So like let's say you're gonna play a 5 cost ace down anyway, then you just show the 5 cost ace and the card that you are going to rig, and then next turn you show the 5 cost ace and the same card again, and then you leader effect put the 4 cost on the top of your deck and play the 5 cost ace, and hey, look, this the 2 cards I showed you. Now you have no info again. So this is pretty good. I quite enjoy it. I think it's pretty good. Color green here is pretty funny though. That's not green. Okay. I just noticed that too. Like we've gone through a bunch of blue cards. Okay, next is Thatch. I think Thatch is really good. 4 cost 5k power. If this character were to be KO'd or removed from your board by your opponent's effects, instead you can trash him and then draw 1 card. So this is bad against like bounce effects, like, because I mean you could still use it. Like if your opponent were to bounce him to try to bounce him to your hand, you can still trash him to draw a card instead. But I think it's probably not the best card, but best way to do it. But instead, I think being resilient to KO and being resilient to bottom decking is pretty good. He's not exactly resilient because the board doesn't stick, but at least it gives you the card back, which is good. Funnily enough, this card is when KO'd or removed by your opponent's effect, so it doesn't synergize with the 4 cost Teach from like OP08, I want to say 4, the red one, the one that when you trash one of your own characters you get to draw a card, so you can't like draw 2 because of it. But I think it's fair that Thatch and Teach cards don't synergize. But yeah, I think this card is pretty decent. Whether or not he deserves a slot is going to be a different story. It's the deck seems pretty tight as is, but we will see like what people end up cooking for this guy. Okay, next is Shakuyaku. Oh, I guess it means peonies. That's pretty cute. Okay. Anyway, Shaki. So Shaki's effect is your turn, once per turn, if a character would leave the field because of one of your effects, and if your opponent has 5 cards or more in their hand, then your opponent puts 1 card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. Then rest this character. So then rest this character means that you can use this after attacking, this effect after attacking, which is pretty good. So you don't lose that attack, but it also means that you can use it on the turn that is played, which is also pretty good. This is really good in synergy with Hancock Leader because of the fact that for one, when you play this down and then you remove something, you get to draw 1 card if your hand is less than 5, and if your opponent has more than 5, they also bottom 1 card from their hand. So it's effectively like +2 in hand advantage, which is really good. And that's not even counting the board advantage you get by removing one of your opponent's character, or by even removing one of your own characters. Like for example, if you're playing the 6 cost Hancock after this and bottoming like your Sengoku or something, you also get to draw 1 card and bottom deck one of your opponent's cards. So it's really really good, like hand advantage and hand disparity, which I think is going to be kind of I guess a bit of the identity for blue moving forward as well, for Hancock especially. And with cards like Pudding in the game and cards like this in the game, it's going to be very very like strong. Okay, I think a funny play is definitely like you can play this down and then the next turn you play Pudding. So the Pudding removes 1, like cycles however many hand they had, now they have 5, and then using your removal or some form of removal, it turns their hand from 5 back to 4. So it's really strong, I think. Okay, next we have Jozu, 6/7. You may return one of your own characters other than this character to your own hand, and then after that return up to one of your opponent's cost 6 or lower characters to their hand. So pretty good. It's 6/7 and it hits 6, so pretty good in terms of removing on curve. I think like all of these characters hitting the same cost as their own character cost, it's probably because of the Mako effect being done times 1. So they want to be like cognizant of that. So for example, if you're playing this on 7, you can still bounce a 6 and use your leader effect. Returning one of your own characters to hand is of course not the best, but if you have like searchers on board, then that's pretty good. So against Mako, you probably do want to clear those searchers just to prevent this Josu from dropping, and then giving them value as well. But I think this is a pretty good card. I expect it to be played pretty frequently in Whitebeard Pirates Mako decks. Okay, Sweet Pea, 4-cost vanilla. This art is sassy for sure. Next, Speed Jail, another 4-cost vanilla turned effect boy. So 4-cost 5k, on play, review the top card of your deck and place it at the top or bottom of your deck. Wait, what? No, sorry. Review the top card of your deck and then put it at the top or bottom of your deck. If the revealed card has Whitebeard's Pirates in its type, then this character gains Rush. Yeah, okay. Sorry, it took me a while to understand that. So pretty good. You can flip the top card and then this character gains Rush. So it's a 4/5 Rush with 1k guard. Effectively, you probably need to rig the top card of your deck in order to use this Rush effect. So you need to put 1 Dawn on your leader and then like you rig the 5 like a Whitebeard Pirates type card, and then after that you play this guy down. But it's cool that you can choose to review it and then put it to the bottom. So if you wanted to cycle the card anyway, but you still want to rig for Speed Jail, you can cycle the card that you wanted to bottom deck, put it on the top of your deck, and then after that you Speed Jail and put it to the bottom. So that's like it's one way to do it, I guess. Like you can do it in a couple of different steps. So that's pretty good. 4/5 Rush is just in general a pretty good stat line. And this one has 1k counter too, so that's good. But of course the Rush isn't generic, so like it's not gonna replace Rush Assault for me in my other blue decks. But yeah, pretty decent card. Then we have Namer. Namer's effect is he's a blocker, and then on play draw 2 cards and then put 2 cards from your hand at the bottom or the top of your deck. So pretty good. Like you can use this in conjunction with the 5-cost Ace to set up your 9-cost Sanji turns or your 5-cost Ace turns, which is not bad. You can also use it to protect yourself from hand destruction like Perona or Isho. So especially like the random hand destruction kinds, you'll be able to protect yourself from it pretty well. But other than that, yeah, it's just a 3-cost blocker. I think it's not too bad. Okay, next is another Bakin. 1 cost 2k counter. 1 cost 2k power, 1k counter only. And during your turn, when on play, up to one of your Edward Weavers gets plus 2k power during this turn. I really foresee a Edward Weaver leader card coming sooner or later. They're printing a bunch of Edward Weavers. But yeah, that's probably it. I'm surprised this isn't 2k counter because the rest of the cards with this kind of like stat line and effect are 2k counters. Like the snake and the bird and the girl from the previous set. I forgot the specific card names, but yeah, there's 3 of them in the previous set, so I'm surprised this one is not a 2k counter card. Next is Ace. This is gonna be a pretty key card, I think, for one, the blue yellow Ace is gonna like this just because it's a 5-cost Ace, so it's a henshin target. And then other than that, it's also just a pretty good card for Mako. Mako leader. I'm starting to like brain fart a little bit, sorry. It's a pretty good card for Mako leader because you can rig the top card of your deck with your leader effect, and then after that play this down. So essentially for 6 Dawn you get a 5-cost and a 4-cost character, which is really good. It plays off the top card of your deck instead of from your hand. So that's also really good because it's hand positive. Like it's only 1 card from hand rather than 2 cards from hand. Like cards like Film Broke or Film Luffy are 2 cards from hand. This is only 1 card from hand, which is good. And other than that, I think for example, cards like Blue Yellow Ace, even if you're not playing like a Whitebeard Pirates package, you can just use it to check the top card of your deck, and then if it's bad, you just move it to the bottom. So I think even Blue Yellow Ace will like this card a bit. So that's pretty good. Like in general, I think this is a pretty decent card. Okay, now we're on to the events. Thank you for loving me. So, sorry, I just got a little bit sad. So it's a main event. If your leader has the Whitebeard Pirates type, then you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you can review a Whitebeard Pirates type card or a Monkey D. Luffy, and then after that, add it to your hand. And then after that, you can place the bottom at the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So this is really, really strong because it not only is it a searcher, it also lets you arrange your top deck. So very, very powerful. It is locked to Whitebeard Pirates type leader, so you're not gonna get like Doflamingo or whatever playing this card. But in Blue Yellow Ace, in Blue Red Marco, this is gonna be really, really good. You get to rig your top your top hand, and your top two cards, so you can use this before your leader effect. And if the cards are bad, you can just bottom deck them as well. So those are pretty good use cases for it. And then you can also set up for like 9-cost Sanji and things like that as well. So also for the 5-cost Ace. So you can use this the previous turn to set up for 5-cost Ace, so you can still play it on curve, which is really good as well. Because if not, you would have to only play 5-cost Ace on 6 Dawn. So being able to play this is quite strong, I think. And again, it's a searcher, and it hits both Whitebeard Pirates and Luffy, which is very sad. At the same time, that also means it is good in Blue Yellow Ace because it hits any of the 2-cost or the 5-cost Luffy cards as well. So there's a lot of targets for it. So it hits like both the all 3 5-cost Aces. It hits the 2-cost and both 5-cost Luffy. So that's 24 targets in a Blue Yellow Ace deck as well. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, next. You can't just suddenly go for the king counter event and give 3-cost counter event, give up to one of your leaders or characters plus 3k power for the battle, and then after that reveal the top card of your deck and have, if it is a Whitebeard Pirates type card with a cost of 3 or less, you can play it down. So you can use this to play down the 3-cost blocker namer. You can also use it to play down, I guess, a searcher. You can use it to play down Haruta. So those are pretty interesting. I think the most interesting is, of course, playing down a blocker. You can play Fossa, you can play the namer, you can play a searcher so they can draw another card. A lot of different options for this thing, but again, 3-cost is pretty hefty. It's effectively play a 3-cost from top deck, which is not bad. You can use this to like for example on 4 Dawn, you can put 1 Dawn on leader, you can rig your top deck, and then after that you keep 3 Dawn open, so you effectively get your 3-cost for free on your opponent's turn. It gets rush, but I don't know, it feels like 3-cost is really hefty, and the number of targets are not the greatest either. Okay, next is Ho-Oh-In, Phoenix Seal. So one of Marco's techniques. This is former Whitebeard Pirates, because this is a Wano card. So main event, again, reveal 2 of your cards with Whitebeard Pirates from your hand, and then place up to one of your opponent's cost 6 or lower characters at the bottom of its owner's deck. So it's basically improved 3000 worlds. You do have to have the 2 Whitebeard Pirates cards in hand, but it hits 6 costs instead of 5 costs, which is pretty good. 6 cost wise, I don't think there's that many super key targets at the moment. In 08, there's the new Katakuri. I guess there's Jozu in the mirror. I'm trying to think of like other relevant 6-cost cards. I guess 6-cost King is also an option, but yeah, still it's good to have a higher range, and it's a pretty decent removal event. I just don't understand why they are giving the leader like power reduction, and then the removal cards are not based on power. Like it's kind of awkward and weird, but I mean, I guess that's the direction they've gone with. Because I think, like, for example, if red in One Piece was as good as red in Dragon Ball Set 1, like Beerus, like it would be a much better color. But it is what it is, you know. Okay, and lastly we have the new Moby Dick. So 2-cost stage on during your turn, once per turn. If one of your Whitebeard Pirates type cards leaves the field due to an effect, then you can draw a card, and then you can place 1 card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So I don't love this card. I think it's only good like if you bounce cards with like Jozu. I don't think there were any other effects that really bounced your own characters during your turn. I think it was really just Jozu. So meh, I don't love it. I don't think it's a very good card. I mean, they printed another Moby Dick. I guess like they were trying not to make it too strong. I think it would have been fine if this was on both turns, honestly. I think it would have been fair. Like the deck isn't that strong, so giving them a cycle on your opponent's turn if your opponent like hits your board is, I think, okay. I don't think it would have been too bad. But yeah, that's it. I think it's okay. Trigger is make this card appear, so it's just like play the stage down for free. Not too bad. But yeah, I don't think it's worth the slot.